Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, President Rodrigo Duterte fires Vice President Leni Robredo as anti-drug czar.
The most appropriate and proper thing to do is to live quietly.
Expressing dissatisfaction over her leadership in the war against drugs.
Not only because she is with the opposition. I do not trust her because I do not know her.
But is this a diversionary tactic?
At hindi ako magugulat kung ito'y bahagi ng isang tangka para ilihis yung atensyon ng publiko sa malawakang anomalya at kapalpakan nga ng SEA Games.
House Committee Chair on Dangerous Drugs Ace Barbers joins us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Liberal Party President Senator Kiko Pangilinan claims Malacanang's scheme is to make Vice President Robredo look weak, backfired. Pangilinan adds Robredo's eventual firing proved that the war on drugs and the Vice President's appointment are, quote, bluff and bluster. Albay 1st District Representative Edsel Lagman believes the President never intended for VP Robredo to succeed as anti-drug czar. Speaking to CNN Philippines, the opposition lawmaker says Mr. Duterte only wants to embarrass the Vice President.
I think that was the plan from the very start. Let her induce her to accept the job and find faults in her and then subsequently fire her just to embarrass the Vice President. I think there was no serious intention to let her succeed.
Senator Risa Ontiveros claims Mrs. Robredo could have done a better job than the President in handling the controversial war on drugs. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Ontiveros says the Vice President could have made a difference on the anti-drug campaign if she was put in charge.
It's really their loss, Claire, no? Again, tulad dati nung nasa housing sector ang pamumuno ni VP Leni, again now the government has lost her in a position that she could have made a difference. If they had just gotten out of her way, she would have made a difference na itigil yung mga extrajudicial killings kaugnay nitong war on drugs. She could have made a difference na finally pamunuan, mag-coordinate sa Department of Health, itampok yung isang public health approach sa problematic drug use. She could have made a difference actually in achieving the law enforcement objectives that have been eluding us for the past 3 years.
Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo cites VP Robredo's discussion with foreigners as one of the reasons why she was removed from her post. Panelo adds that the Vice President did not present anything new as anti-drug czar.
My suggestion from the very start is, since you have criticized the administration's drive against illegal drugs as being one, a failure, or ineffective, then you must have already some ideas or measures or tasks in your mind. But you never presented that for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We have not heard of that, whether publicly or privately. When the issue is the very lives of people, delay of 1 day is like eternity. This government cannot just twiddle its thumb and sit idly waiting for a show of flashes of brilliance from the Vice President to perform. Yes, but she never presented any program at all. I've seen. Have you heard her present any problem? Moreover, you must remember that it's the VP Leni herself asking the President to fire her. Don't forget that.
Members of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, respecting the President's decision to fire Vice President Leni Robredo, co-chairman and PDEA Chief Aaron Aquino says, quote, whatever happens, PDEA will continue to carry out its mandate to rid the country of illegal drugs with utmost sincerity and integrity. Meantime, Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara says he's saddened by the turn of events. He adds, quote, I hope that our drug enforcement agencies would find this latest development as a reason to close ranks and focus all their attention on the real battle confronting them. As for the Philippine National Police, it says, quote, "We assure the public that the campaign against high-value targets of illegal drugs will remain relentless following the rule of law with utmost respect for human rights," end of quote. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have House Committee Chair on Dangerous Drugs, Congressman Robert Ace Barbers. Congressman, good to have you. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, and good morning.
The Vice President Leni Robredo fired by President Duterte as chairperson of the Committee on Drugs. Your reaction?
Well, unang-una, the Vice President has been meeting with a lot of people that are considered to be enemies of the administration.
Such as?
Well, the U.S. officials, the European community, all these people have prejudged the drug war of the president.
Hold on, sir. I need to clarify that. Why do you say that the U.S., what's the word you use, sir? Ano ginamit yung word?
Those that I use the word kalaban, because
okay.
To me it's kalaban because these people have already prejudged the president.
Okay, you have the U.S., sir. She met with the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Agency.
yeah,
And when you
that's
look
right.
back at some of the interviews of even government officials, they were saying that these are the same people who work with the ICAD. Kalaban ho bang FBI at Drug Enforcement Agency ng United States?
Actually,
sir?
hindi. No?
So why did you
Hindi.
say kalaban, sir?
But other than that, no, she met with a lot of people who have already prejudged the press. I just forgot the name of those people from the U.S. and the European community.
There's just two people, sir, so far. The U.S. and it's the UN Office on Crime and Drugs.
Okay.
Nagkamali ho si Presidente, sinabi niya, naniwala siya sa fake news because umikot naman po, sir, na akala ni Presidente UN prosecutor.
Okay.
Hindi naman po because it was a Philem Kine who's part of the Human Rights Watch who tweeted Vice President Leni Robredo saying, "My bags are packed, I'm ready to go to the Philippines, but first please first thing to do, arrest President Duterte." It was just a tweet, sir. Just to clarify that.
But that's the opinion that I think that was the opinion of the person, no? And he's really held serious about that, no? And to me, if I were the president, I would have looked at it as a taunting, no, as a threat, no. And in fact, it was an insult because I'm the president, and you're tweeting things like that. It's as if you're insulting me in front of my fellow
Right.
Filipinos. That's something else.
But the
no?
Vice President did not invite him, sir. That's what the point I'm trying to make.
Well, but she has been speaking with these people.
No, it's the United Nations Office on Crime and Drugs. This Philem Kine, sir, is part of human rights. So it's actually a different group. Kaya nga sabi
Okay.
po ni Vice President, sana hindi maniwala si Pangulo sa fake news, to which the President 2 nights ago said naniwala
He apologized.
nga siya.
And he apologized,
Yeah,
right?
correct, sir.
Well, the president has already apologized. And other than that, no, the vice president and the president of the Liberal Party has been taunting as well, no, the president. So how would the boss feel if a subordinate, no, has been asking for the boss to fire them and in insulting them? So I guess that's the end of it. No?
Is it right for the President to have fired the Vice President?
I think so, yeah. I think so because he has the authority to do so, especially if there was already in the context of distrust, no, and in the context of non-performance, all those things, no, as stated by the president in all his speeches, no. So ang paniwala ko, nararapat lamang yun because you should never taunt the president.
Mistrust. You used the word mistrust and non-performance. Just two things, sir. The President saying that he doesn't trust the Vice President. Why? Because she's a member of the opposition and because he doesn't really know her. But why appoint her to begin with if you don't trust her?
Well, in the first place, she was the one who was criticizing the drug war. And when the president got picked, sinabi niya na, okay, since kinikriticize mo naman ito, So why don't you just join us and propose something? But for the last 2-3 weeks that she's been there, she has not proposed anything. There's nothing new.
Where you go to the non-performance, which is my next question. Non-performance, ho ba yung 2.5 weeks? You were able to judge that somebody is not performing well enough.
Yes, I think so. No, number one, kasi she knows already the problem. No. And wasting time in consultations and all these things, talking to different people that are not really in the know of the real situation in the ground, no, that's a waste of time. It's just fishing for something. We don't know. But maybe she's just fishing for some bad news against the president. No. Second, tama lang naman siguro dapat na ang kinonsulta hindi yung mga taong yun kundi yung mga tao nasa baba.
But she did that, sir. She met with the Interagency Council, sir. She met with the PIDEA. She met with the Dangerous Drugs Board. She met with the DILG. She met with the PNP, sir.
Yeah, but she was asking for the high-value target list.
She did.
She was asking for a lot of things that are not necessary anymore. Remember, ICAD is just a policy-making body. And you don't need to know who your targets are. Diba? Especially considering that in the previous administration where she belongs, there were a lot of names mentioned by our president that are included in that HVT list. So, medyo nakakatakot yun, no? I'm not saying that it might be leaked out to them, no? Ang point doon is that when this HVT list comes out, gets into the hands of those that are not concerned, baka ang mangyari is this can be a tip-off and they can leave. They're still in the process of investigating. So it might jeopardize the investigation that's being happening.
Which is why they weren't giving it to her, sir. Do you not think that she could have possibly made a difference in the war on drugs? Could there have been that thought, sir, na baka nakatulong siya or baka, palagay niyo ba baka nakatulong siya o baka nakasama pa siya?
Sa aking palagay, in the last 2 weeks to 3 weeks that she's been there, she could have proposed already new strategies, new policies, new strategies, new programs. Rather than, in the last 2 weeks, she's been talking about deaths, extrajudicial killings that's being done, etc., etc., and a lot of negative things about the drug war. In all honesty, Pinky, sa tingin ko, this is the only president that this country has elected that has been bold and open about involvements of people that are higher status in our society. Remember, he was the only president who named narco generals. He was the only president who named narco politicians, narco judges, narco ninja cops, etc., etc. So, ang dami. No other president has done that.
And for that?
And for that, I guess that took off and became a good strategy in winning this war against drugs. No, nakakatakot kasi yung pala the drug lords are in our midst. No, now that the president has made this announcement, we are now conscious about that, and people are participating and giving information.
We will be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Problems hounding the Southeast Asian Games, from its budget to the transportation and accommodations of athletes, with a few days to go before the regional meet officially opens. Football teams from several countries were forced to train on streets instead of a stadium and sleep on floors while waiting for hours to check into their hotel rooms. Our Chrissy Di Matulak tells us more.
Even before its formal start, problems seem to tarnish the country's hosting of the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. The first football match will be held on November 25, Monday. But even before this, comments emerged online of some teams not being properly attended to when they arrived in the country. In a post on Thailand's national football team's Instagram account, Coach Akira Nishino and members of his team could be seen having their practice on a street. Thailand also had to cancel the first day of training because of the traffic jam they encountered in Manila on their way to the venue. They also had to wait for hours to get their athletes' identification cards at the airport. Cambodia's football team also reportedly had to sleep on chairs and on carpeted floors, while Myanmar's team was reportedly transported on a small cramped bus. The two teams had to endure several hours waiting for their hotel rooms to be ready. During a pre-game press conference on Sunday, Thailand football team coach Akira Nishino and Timor-Leste's Fabiano Flora recalled their team's experiences when they set foot in the country.
From the here to training ground, it takes 2 hours. And for us, it's not realistic and we cannot make it by the time. So we have to manage ourselves to have a training on the street.
I hope so for the future. Cannot happen again, these situations. So I think all nations deserve respect. And what happened yesterday was not so beautiful, imagine.
Myanmar and Cambodia say it's better to put these lapses behind. All they want to do now is to focus on the games.
So we are here, we have our target and we are determined to do.
Yeah, so now we're well rested. We had to change some things, but we prepare. We know that things are not perfect, especially when you're not the home country.
The Philippines Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee, or PHISGOC, has issued an apology to the affected teams. PHISGOC Chief Operating Officer Ramon Susara admitted there was confusion regarding transportation and hotel accommodations. There are also photos posted online that led many netizens to question if the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex is ready for Monday's football match. CNN Philippines went to Rizal Memorial Sports Complex to check if the football stadium is ready for Monday's match. Finishing touches are being put in place, such as the installation of decals. Members of PHISGOC at the site say that while other facilities, such as the tennis courts, are still under works, the football stadium is good to go. The football matches on Monday will be kicked off with a clash between Myanmar and Cambodia. The SEA Games opening ceremony is on November 30. Chrissy de Matulak, CNN Philippines.
I just want to start with that, sir, because we played that package from our reporter, Chrissy. It seems that there are a number of complaints. I don't know if you know about this, sir, and if you would be, give us any explanation or your thoughts on the football team of Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Timor-Leste. A number of problems, sir. Maybe we can put that up on the screen so the congressman can see it again. Let's start with Timor-Leste. The football teams are arrived at the airport. They waited for about 3 hours. And then, medyo matagal, no? Tapos dinala sila sa maling hotel. That's one. That's one example, sir. And then, in fact, some of the coaches had a press conference. This is Thailand. I believe this is the one from Thailand, sir. Dumating po sila at yung kanilang practice stadium is 2 hours away. I believe it's in Binyan. So sabi nila it was impossible to make it there because of 2-hour travel time. So what they did was they practiced on the street, sir. Cambodia and Myanmar problems on the bus. Medyo masikip daw yung mga bus na kanilang sinakyan. Siyempre, I'm imagining, sir, medyo malalaki siguro itong mga players na to. Just your initial thoughts on that.
Well, I read over the news feeds, in the social media that the PHISGOC officials have already apologized for all this shortcomings, so to speak. And, it's not a very ordinary event, and organization really has to be, what they call this, perfect, so to speak. And it seems that there are some flaws in the planning, some flaws in the implementation of its plan, perhaps, in the execution of its plan. So, but just the same, I'm sure the PHISGOC officials will recover and babawi yan pagdating ng panahon.
When you see pictures like this, sir, on social media, making the rounds on social media, I mean, as an official, as a congressman, nahihiya ba kayo, or do we just really say there are really problems sometimes in hosting such a big event? Do we find excuses for that and just apologize?
Ako, personally, I will not find any excuses. There are flaws, at medyo may kapalpakan dun sa organizing. And perhaps what we can do as an official, I personally would do if I was on top of this, and make sure na babawi, no? Babawi, hindi mahaba pa naman yung event at marami pa namang opportunities para makabawi.
Siguro masakit lang, sir, na kasi I guess when you realize that athletes from their home countries, magpo-post siguro sila, napaalis na sila. Tapos pagdating dun sa host country, magpo-post din sila. At ito yung unang nakita sa Pilipinas.
Yeah, tama. No? And I feel so embarrassed, no, in a way, no, because mukhang may kapalpakan nga So, but I'm sure that PHISGOC officials will recover soon.
Okay, but it goes, sir, to the other question on the controversy surrounding the SEA Games. Some, they say, some centers are not yet fully done. Pagkatapos, syempre, nandiyan po yung tinatawag na nga na budget for the SEA Games, the cauldron of 55 million pesos. Sir, just with the budget, how much budget is it really? Is it 6 billion. Magkano ho ba talaga yung budget?
From what I heard, it's about 6 to 7 billion peso budget for this hosting of this event. No, as I said, no, it's not very easy to host something like this. No, it's a big event. No, you're talking of accommodations, food, transportation, and of course the fees for referees, fees for officials, and all those things. And very conservative nga yung ating budget
Is that?
I think so, yeah, because other countries when they hosted, they probably have double the amount that we have, no. And talking about that cauldron, no, yung amount that we spent for that, to me is not an issue because compare it to Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia, they probably spent double the amount that we did, no, in that particular cauldron thing. So, modest naman yung atin, no.
55 million is modest for you, sir.
55 million because there are justification. One, it's done by a national artist, no. To a art aficionado, it is something priceless, no. Two, it passed through a rigorous and rigid system of procurement, no, and bidding for this particular project. And third, modest in the sense that this is something that we should all Filipinos be proud of, no? Parang banner natin yan
It signals the start of the SEA Games.
That's right. And something like, imagine it's being shown all over the world, no? And just imagine a small caldero or a cauldron that will light up this fire, and then it looks ridiculous. No?
Do you question, though? Some are questioning, although PHISGOC is saying it's a surprise, why this is at the New Clark City and the opening will be in Bulacan, 90 kilometers away, sir?
Yun ang medyo, because I'm surprised to find out that there are other venues. I thought, no, all the while, honestly, I thought...
Akala niyo sa New Clark City?
Oo, akala ko nasa isang Clark City na lang lahat. Although, like, golf is will be played in Luisita and other venues like, I think football is not in Clark.
It's in Rizal, sir, and also meron din sa Binyan.
Oo, yun. So, medyo parang mahirap yun because the traveling time. I would have opted that all these events will be hosted in one place.
Impossible, though, sir. Obviously, that's not... There are a number of events, and some will be in New Clark City and in other venues as well. But just to go back to that point before we go on a break, sir, did you find it strange that the cauldron is in New Clark City, but the opening is in Bulacan, sir?
Well,
pero sabi na
naman
secret,
bagay naman yung cauldron dun sa New Clark City. In fact, the main objective of building this Clark City is for this particular purpose. And we should have that kind of a cauldron there.
Okay, we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today is House Committee on Dangerous Drugs Chair Ace Barbers. So, Congressman, I also want to talk about vaping. The President ordered the arrest of those who are caught vaping in public. Right or wrong, sir? And is there a law that can justify this?
Well, Congress is still in the process of coming up with a law regulating this new fad, no, which is the vaping industry. But the president has already issued a ban, no, and on the basis of that EO which he signed, no, I think it was EO 26, banning smoking in all public places. So this will follow also in the vaping industry, because remember, vaping also has a nicotine content in its device. So perhaps that's the reason why it is also included in the public places that the EO has identified.
So it's justified to arrest, even if the PNP is saying that we will get them, bring them to the precinct, ibablotter, and papakawalan, but confiscate their vaping products. Is that correct?
As of this time, since there is still no law, no, banning totally, and which includes all the penal provisions and etc. for violating such, the police can, what the police can do is just blotter them, confiscate the device, and then make sure that they're not anymore caught in the same place using the same device, because otherwise it will appear that they are quote-unquote recalcitrants or recidivists, so to speak, no? Parang ganon.
Paulit-ulit.
Paulit-ulit. Then there could be some violation already in the revised penal code.
Was there a part, sir, that you believe that we should ban all tobacco products instead?
Well, if there is really a strategy that we must adopt, dapat walang exemption. Ban natin lahat, including tobacco. In fact, there are studies that say vaping, e-cigarettes is less harmful than the tobacco smoking. So tingnan natin, balansehin natin yan. And if indeed that statement is true, then we have all the reason to ban also smoking.
Yeah. Because inconclusive pa naman, sir, ata yung findings on vaping.
Remember, on smoking, it took the Surgeon General 40 years to be able to come up with that study, saying that a stick of cigarette has 7,000 different kinds of poison in it. No, siguro in this new industry, the vaping, baka it will take a little more time. It will take a while, no. But just the same, sabi ko nga if we cannot avoid the coming in of the vaping in the country, just like in other countries, then maybe we should just come up with a regulation. Number 1, kanino natin dapat ibenta? Number 2, saan dapat binibenta? Number 3, I filed kasi a bill regulating it. Number 3, we should not allow the advertisements. Number 4, yung flavors. No? Dapat limited tayo sa flavor lang. Kung if this, we believe, is an alternative to smoking, then maybe we should just limit the flavors to 2. Yung original at saka yung menthol. That's it.
Such as, what is the flavors of cigarettes?
That's correct.
Yung blend po ng mga cigarettes.
Yun lang yun.
But you're more in favor of regulating it rather than banning it.
In the absence of the statement of the president, I am for regulating. But now that the president has issued a ban, we should all support the president.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. Congressman, maraming salamat po sa inyo. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.